Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to learn how we can create a dial pair in the packet tracer. So we're going to learn about dial pairs. So basically we have one Cisco phone here and we have another Cisco phone here. And we want these two phones to be able to talk to each other. And so we have a PC attached to each phone. Okay, we have PC1 attached to phone number one. We have PC2 attached to phone number two, and then we have a switch here attached to a router. And so we're going to create this port between the switch and the phones. Okay, it's going to be access ports. And of course on those ports we're going to also have voice we're going to have voice and data VLANs configured on those ports. And then between the switch and the router is going to be a trunk port on the switch end, and then on the router end we're going to have sub interfaces configured on the router so that we have these two VLANs managed on the sub interfaces. The configuration was done on this test environment, but I will have to do it again from scratch so that you can see exactly how it was done. So what would be the use case of such a simple diagram would be maybe a small office, a small business that's just growing. So they have two phones, and those two phones maybe are located in two different offices in the same building. So this is just a simple diagram. One router, one switch, two phones, two PCs. And so right now I'm going to get into the configuration and I'll show you exactly how this is done. So we're going to bring on the router. Here I'm going to use the 2911 router. I'm going to need a switch. I'm going to need 3560 switch. I'm going to need two PCs. And two phones. Two IP phones. You have to link them all together. So on the switch, you're going to get into the CLI mode and start the configuration by creating the VLANs. I'm going to terminal. I'm going to give the host name switch 0, VLAN 5, name data, VLAN 15 is name voice. Then on the switch, we're going to say on this port fastener 0 is going to be access port. Okay, it's going to access VLAN 5 for data and VLAN 15 for voice. We're going to do the same thing on the switch port fastener 03. It's fastener 0/2 switch port mode access switch port access access VLAN 5. switch port voice VLAN 15. No shot. And to make it quicker, I'm going to just copy paste on the other port. Just going to do show run here. So on the switch, I added the two VLANs, VLAN 5 for data and VLAN 15 for voice, and also the access ports are all configured. So access port 2 is VLAN 5 for data and VLAN 15 for voice. The same thing for access port 3. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to configure the router sub interfaces for the two VLANs. And then we'll come back to the switch to configure this port as a trunk port. So we want these devices to obtain IP addresses by DHCP. So the PC is we're gonna set them to DHCP. Okay, so they obtain IP addresses from the router. Right now they are not configured. If you see, it's static. It's not. So when the configuration is done on the router, they should be able to pick up IP addresses. PC1 and 2. So right now they're not having any IP addresses. Same thing with the phones. So let's go into the router and then we set the host name. Actually going to call it R1. And then in order to create the IP, the DHCP, first of all, we have to create the DHCP excluded range. So we're going to say IP DHCP excluded IP range. So for the data, it's going to be 172.16.1 to 172.16.5.20. So between IP.1 and .20, those ones are not going to appear in the DHCP range. So we're going to do the same thing for the data, for the voice, sorry. So 15.1 and up to 15.20, they're not going to appear on the DHCP range. Okay. So now we're going to configure the pool. IP DHCP pool. Let's call this one data. Give a network. Network is 172.13.5.0, 255.255.0. Now create a default router, which is going to be the gateway for the devices. The gateway is going to be 172.16.5.1. We're going to do the same thing for the voice. Create a DHCP pool. So for voice, it's going to be IP DHCP pool voice. The network is 172.16.15.0, 255.0. Default router, which is the default gateway for the voice phones, is going to be 172.16.15.1. And for phones, we're going to set we're going to add another statement which says option 150. The option question mark is I can choose a value between 0 and 250. I'm going to say 150. Okay, that's only for voice phones. Say IP is going to be 172.16.15.1, which is our router. Okay, and that's it for the DHCP. We can actually test it. Let me go out of there, save it, and go to the phones and the see if they pick up IP addresses. No, they can't pick up an IP address right now because the sub interfaces are not configured. Yeah, we still, yeah, something I have to enable this link between the router and the switch, configure it with sub interface before we can actually use the DHCP. So the interface linking the router to the switch is a gig 0/0. So we're going into that interface gig 0/0, no short, and then then we have to configure sub interfaces for that. So say interface gig 0/0 .5. Okay, for VLAN 5. The encapsulation .1 cure for VLAN 5. Add VLAN 5 there. The interface should come up. Now give an IP address to that interface. IP address 172.5.1.5.0. Yeah, the interface normally would come up, but I haven't done anything on the switch end. I have to configure the switch end. That's the fast internet 0/1 of the switch. I have to configure it as a trunk port. That's not done yet. So, anyways, we'll get there. So, for VLAN 5, the data VLAN is done. Now we're going to do the same thing for the voice VLAN. On exit, on the interface fast internet. It's not fast internet. 0/0/15. Okay. Up. Let's say encapsulation. .1 cure, and give the VLAN 15. Then we'll give an IP address to that interface. Then 172.16.15.1 .0. Okay. All right, that one is done, and then we exit out of there, save the configuration, and then we have to enable the trunk port on the switch end. Okay, so I'm going to go to the switch. If I do show IP interface brief, so the fast internet 0/1 on the switch, okay, it's up, but it's not defined as a strong port. Okay, if I do show interface strong, okay, we don't see a trunk port on that switch, so we're going to have to enable the fast internet 0/1 as a trunk port. So configure terminal interface fast internet 0. Trunk. Okay, rejected. Okay, let's see why it's rejected. Okay, switch port trunk. Let's see if it takes switch port trunk encapsulation. .1 cure. All right, so that's what I need to do that one first, and then I say switch one more trunk. Yeah, what happened is that I needed to enter the switchport trunk encapsulation.1 cure first before entering the statement switchport mode trunk. So that was what was happening. Switchport mode trunk. Now should accept. Okay. Now it's good. So if I go now, I do show interface trunk. Okay, so now we can see that facility 01 is a trunk port. Okay, so at this point, we could actually we will just let this to synchronize and the port chart to be green. And once the port is green, we should be able to pick an IP address on the switches, on the router and the phones. Okay, so let's go now onto PC1. Let's go to IP address and then say put DHCP and see what IP address it picks. Yeah, it does pick an IP address. And that's the first IP address from the excluded DHCP range, which is .21, which is good. And then it also tells us that the gateway is .1. So basically, we should be able to ping the gateway from this router. That's not our main focus. So we want to make sure that the phones also pick up IP addresses. So I'm just going to enable the DHCP on this one as well, PC2. So it also picks up an IP address next available. This is .22. That one is working, and then we're waiting for the phones to pick up the IP addresses. The phones, not yet. The phone should pick up an IP address. Let's see. So for the phones to pick up IP address, we needed to power it on. So right now the power was missing. So I'm gonna do the same thing for second phone. So it's lacking the power, so we need to put in the power supply. And then from there, you should pick up an IP address. So if you go into the PC phone 1, we just hover over it. Let's see if it picks up an IP address. Yeah, it did pick up an IP address. So it picked up IP address dot 22, okay, dot 22 on the phone 1, and then it should be dot 21 on the phone 2. Okay, dot 21. All right. So our phones have IP addresses now. What's left is to make sure that those phones can ring each other. Okay. So the good thing is each of these phones the phones are on the VLAN voice and the PCs on VLAN data. So that's exactly according to the design. So the next thing is to configure the phones to be able to ring from on the router. So on the router, we're going to configure those phones to ring each other. So let's hop over to the router. Configure terminal. So first thing we want to do is to enable telephony service. Telephony. All right, so I ended up having to replace this router because this router that I initially took was initially took 2911 router, which doesn't do telephony services. So I had to swap it with the 2811 that does telephony service on Packet Tracer. So right now our configuration is back just where we left it. So which means the PCs have IPs, the phones have IPs, and we just left with configuring the die pair on the router. So we're going to go into the router and then we configure the die pair. We start with telephony service. Telephony service. We enable telephony service, and then we define the maximum number of earphones that we're going to use. Maximum earphones. We're going to say maximum of 2. We're going to have just 2 phones. This one and this one. 2 phones. And then maximum DN. Maximum DN, we're going to say 2. let's say question mark maximum DN, okay, the 2 corresponding to the 2 phones, and then we define the IP source address. IP source address, the source going to be 172.16.15.1, and then source from port question mark. We can use port 2000 to 9999. Okay, we have to specify this port. So we're going to use port 2000, and the phones are going to be auto assigned. So auto assigned phones 1 to 2. Okay, and then we exit out of there, and then we're going to define the phone numbers. So say a phone DN1. Okay, a-phone DN1. Okay, and we give the phone number. So the phone number, let's give the phone number to 1001. Say number 1001. Okay, and then exit. Do the same thing for the second phone. a-phone DN2. Give a number 1002. Okay, it's going to be registered, and then we'll exit out of there and save it. Now we're going to have to check if those phones actually receive their numbers. So this one should receive 1001, and this one should receive 1002. Okay, let's see if they are receiving anything. Okay, this one got 1002, and this one got 1001. It really doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter as long as each phone has its own number, which is distinct from the other. So basically, if we want to call the 1001, we're going to be able to call 1001 from here, okay, because the other one has 1001. So just go in here and go into GUI, and we're going to type the phone 1001, okay. And so it's actually ringing on the other phone at the moment. So I'm gonna bring the two phones together. So this phone is on the left. This one is on the left, and this one's on the right. Let me put it back. Degree. So what I'm gonna do, this one is the phone. So this is the 1002, and this is 1001. So I'm gonna call 1001 from 1002. So it's gonna be 1001. Okay. So you can see it's ringing. So I'm calling this one from this one, and I can just actually. So in a real world, I'll be able to. These two phones will be talking to each other at the moment. So that's it for this video. It's working. Just this is the first video. I'm going to make another video where the two phones are not local. Like if you could see here, the two phones were local. Okay, the two phones are all local on the behind the same router. So the next video, I'm going to make this same configuration, but the other set of phones are going to be on the remote end. Okay, it's the remote on the routed end. So it's going to be another router, and then the same setup on the other end. So thanks a lot for watching this video, and then talk to you in the next video.